In episode number 248 of the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, we cover the latest teaser from Marvel, which comes from Black Panther.
We also have a whole lot of news, whole lot of coverage on E3 2017. Are there games we can't live without? Probably.
Our comic book highlight this week is Batman number 24, already a speculator book.
We also reflect on the loss of a fantastic superhero. Adam West passed away this week.
All of this and more on today's show. Hello and welcome to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every single week, ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Kelly and Leo. Could I be both of those?
You're speaking for Leo.
For now.
For anyone new to the podcast, the way we format the show is first we cover some news, then we head on over to our Patreon shoutouts, and then finally we end with a comic book highlight of the week. The last couple of episodes we've been doing some movie reviews, but this time we are back to the comic book highlights, and that's with Batman number 24.
Before we jump into our show, though, I want to give a very special shout out to this man sitting in front of me. He celebrated a birthday this week.
I did. Huge thanks to everyone that wished me a happy birthday. Thanks to you for the comfy chair that I now have. I can now edit the podcast in full comfort right in front of my desk. It's one of those that leans back and everything. So anytime I'm thinking, contemplating life, contemplating the show, or just being lazy,
staring out into the yard,
I stare out into the yard and just lean back with my little chair.
I want to say beyond that, though, yes, it was a very happy birthday for you, but you have been amazing to me this week as I have gone through pregnancy trials. So thank you very much for being understanding of my dumb sleep schedule.
It is a challenge. Yes, it is a challenge.
It is a challenge putting up with me growing your child.
Aside from that, also, I guess I'm now growing a worm farm.
Yes, you do now have a worm farm.
Your mom's birthday gift to me, since she knows that we do grow potatoes and a couple of avocado trees, she ended up getting us a worm setup where you essentially throw in compost or anything you haven't eaten, and it turns into compost, into soil. So that's been like my project this week, and setting that up and making sure that they're doing well and keeping Ace away from the little worm section. Cause I know when she goes out into the yard, she likes to find worms, roll in them, and then I guess eat them.
Normal dog things, right? Roll on worms and eat them. Your worms are doing really, really well, though. I'm so impressed. They already have laid a bunch of eggs, bunch of worm eggs. They're reproducing like crazy, just using their boy and girl parts to make more baby worms, and they wasted no time. You've had those suckers a week, and they've already doubled or something crazy.
I can't wait for that rich soil to put into the trees, to put into the sand that is Florida, the parts of our yard where there's just no soil. I'm going to fill that up and hopefully have some grass in the non-grassy area that is Florida.
Well, I'm very glad that you enjoyed your birthday festivities and all your gifts, and happy birthday until next year.
And before we jump into our news this week, we've got our hashtag games. We do it every now and again whenever we do get responses from Brokeheads. And this week's hashtag game was hashtag Pokemon Schmovies. My response was 310 to Yanma.
That one's pretty good. We also have one from Twitter user at UberNerd527 who said Sharpnado.
And also Matt from the Super Side Up podcast who said Teenage Mutant Ninja Squirtles.
That one's too easy. You can't use that one. I got one. Flabebe Watch.
That's a pretty good one. There's a lot of easy ones to do with Pokemon, and I was very proud of my 310 to Yanma.
It was very good. Yanma's
no one uses Yanma for that.
He's forgotten. Just like Sintret. No. Who's that one who's always the Furret? Furret's always forgotten.
Yes.
Nobody remembers him.
From Gold and Silver, right?
Yes.
People are also forgetting Persian a lot. Like the evolved form of Meowth because of the anime. And the same with Raichu, too. The anime focuses so much on Meowth and Pikachu that it's almost like you don't even know that they have evolutions.
I remember them. They did this whole Persian thing in Sun and Moon where he just got that very round face. He was just a circle face.
Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and on Facebook so that you can participate in the hashtag games that I do throw up every now and again. But aside from that, let's move on forward with the news this week. Tons of news, so let's get started.
going to start off with some Disney news. As part of Disney's Galaxy of Stories initiative, the Star Wars theme park expansion will be unveiled at the D23 Expo.
These additions will be a part of California and Florida's Hollywood Studios parks, as in, quote, Outer Rim Village, end quote, filled with droids, Jedi, Sith, aliens, starships, and more.
If we've learned anything from Pandora over here at Walt Disney World, it's this will be a huge success. There will be lines to the parking lot to Texas. I heard there were lines to Texas. Waiting to get in to see this thing.
The D23 Expo takes place from July 14th through the 16th, so less than a month now. We will get to see what that expansion will be for Star Wars and for Hollywood Studios. The movable droids and the starships, I'm guessing there's going to be people in costume that dress up as droids, or there's going to be interactive ones, just like in Pandora, where if you wave something in front of it, or if someone walks by it, the droids will start moving.
So, like, can I use my Harry Potter wand, then?
I'm sure they work just the same, yes.
Just the same. Same exact thing.
If not, they'll do their own, like, Jedi something rather. You have to wear the Jedi gloves, and then that'll have a chip in it, so that you can move the things throughout the park.
You know what they're going to end up doing, since this is on both coasts? There's going to be something you get or can purchase to complete if you visit both of them.
You know what they should do instead? They should give you, every kid that wants to be a Jedi and wants to use the Force throughout the park gets a vaccination that gives them midichlorians.
And what it really is normal vaccines, making sure that everybody's got what they need.
And then they'll tell the kids, like, now you can move things. And what they don't know is as soon as you enter the park, they're all just motion censored anyway.
Right.
But that's how you get kids their vaccines. And then you keep the midichlorian story in continuity with Star Wars.
The midichlorians?
Midichlorians, yes, as you pronounce them. Midichlorians.
I like how you mispronounce everything but that, because that is what I mispronounce.
And also, last week we had talked about Sony's clean version initiative that they're moving forward with. Well, the Directors Guild of America has issued a statement against all of this.
Quote, directors have the right to edit their feature films for every non-theatrical platform, plain and simple. Taking a director's edit for one platform and then releasing it on another without giving the director the opportunity to edit violates our agreement. Throughout the years, the DGA has achieved hard-fought creative rights gains protecting our members from such practices, end quote.
And we have a tweet here from director and producer Judd Apatow who said, quote, this is absolute bullshit, and Sony Pictures is gonna get hell for fucking with our movies. Shove the clean versions up your asses, end quote.
Now, what is the clean version of that tweet?
Sony soon after released a clean version of Judd Apatow's tweet when they retweeted and quoted,
this is not fair, and Sony Pictures are going to be in trouble. You know, I get what they're saying, though. I see it.
Last week I had said that the main argument against this is going to be the artistic integrity of the picture itself. But honestly, I still think that if you're going to sell this with the full version, I don't see much of an issue, again, because people can choose their regular theatrical cut or the Sony clean version. And I understand that a director would not want any kind of different version of their art put out there. But honestly, it does not belong to you anymore. Just like when you create a character like Paul Dini and Bruce Timm when they created Harley Quinn, this is why they can put her in movies and they can give her 10 different comic books no matter what the creator says.
Right.
Same thing with Alan Moore and The Watchmen. This is why DC is number one again, because if it weren't for them not owning The Watchmen, they wouldn't be able to do what they've done with The Button and with DC Rebirth. At the end of the day, they're not your creations, really. It's not your movie anymore, Judd Apatow. It belongs to the studio.
And realistically, okay, sure, have the directors go in and make it a clean version cut if they want to. But do you think Sony's going to pay any of them
Hell
to do that?
Fucking no. I was just going to say, who's going to pay for that shit?
Exactly. So you want to do it for free on your own spare time? Okay, but it's still got to meet Sony's standards for what they're trying to put out.
100% of directors will not put themselves through that.
Exactly. Exactly. So, like you said, it's not like they're releasing a completely different movie. It's coming with the original.
Let us know your thoughts on the Clean Version Initiative on Twitter @ReasonsI'mBroke and on Facebook.com/TheReasonsI'mBroke.
Can we release a clean podcast? Can I edit over my curse words like Well, darn.
If Sony wants to do that, by all means, because our podcast is not available in India. I don't know if you knew that.
Really? Because I say fucking too much?
Because our podcast is explicit, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Does not show up at all on iTunes.
Well, good for us, I guess.
But that's how millions of people we could be. Maybe Sony has the right idea. Maybe we should do a clean version initiative of the Reasons I'm Broke podcast. It'll take me another fucking week to edit all of this shit. But, I mean, I guess.
Do you think either of us could not curse? It wouldn't happen.
We did it for the first 14 episodes of the show.
Yeah, and then we gave up.
And
was
those
just too much.
Those are some of the worst episodes of the show.
and then we became our true selves.
It opened up to our true selves, exactly. So now we have the latest from Marvel.
Yes. We saw the first teaser trailer to Black Panther, which was released this week. This blew up my Facebook, and I don't even know why, but it blew up my Facebook. Everyone was like, oh, T'Challa. I don't even know what his name is. This is T'Challa?
Yep.
Oh, I got it right.
We watched the teaser. It's set to release the full movie February 16th, 2018, so it's coming up in less than a year. I honestly, great that people are excited for it. I'm happy that they thought it was a cool teaser trailer. I know they showcased the crew from the Black Panther comic book, so people enjoyed that. A lot of the characters they recognized from the Black Panther universe, including the tech and the technology. I have zero interest in the character, just like I have zero interest in Doctor Strange. Hence why I did not see Doctor Strange, and why I'm not going to go see Black Panther. He was okay in Civil War, didn't do much didn't do much for me at least. The main story was about Captain America. He was an okay supporting character, just like the rest of the characters were okay supporting characters to Captain America. But aside from that, I mean, yeah, I don't feel like I need to see this. The director is amazing. He did Creed. So we're going to see the same director from Creed doing a superhero movie, but that's not enough to have me go to theaters and pay $12 to see Black Panther. When it eventually hits Netflix, maybe I'll eventually see it. And I can't even say maybe because Doctor Strange is still sitting there on our Netflix, and we watched Rush Hour 2 instead. We're like, let's watch Rush Hour 2.
Yeah, and it was way better than Doctor Strange probably was.
Did you enjoy Rush Hour 1 and 2? What'd you think?
I did enjoy them. That movie could never be made now because there are too many politically incorrect jokes in it.
There's so many in there.
Too many. But I did enjoy them.
I'm glad you liked them. I didn't know how you were going to feel about them, but the stunt work is incredible. Yeah. To tie that back into the trailer, this has a shit ton of CGI.
Ugh, so much. That was the first thing I noticed. I was distracted by the rest of everything that I should be paying attention to because it was just CGI. And longtime brokeheads know how we feel about CGI. Do the stunt work. Make a costume.
Do what they did in Civil War. But I maybe, you know what? This budget is much smaller.
Do what they did in Rush Hour 1 and 2.
There you go. Fucking do that shit.
Get Jackie Chan to jump through a little tiny teller window.
Those movies were probably way cheaper to make than the Black Panther and the Marvel movies compared to today.
You have what's his name who cost so much.
Oh, Chris Tucker. That's true. But you don't have Chris Tucker here.
Okay.
So that's most of your budget.
What if Chris Tucker was Black Panther? Would you go see it then?
Yes, I would go see Black Panther.
And he was playing Connor from Rush Hour 2.
Who's Connor?
Wasn't that his name? Carter. Sorry.
Carter?
Every time Lee said it sounded like Connor.
Good for everyone that liked the Black Panther teaser. I have no stake at all in the character, zero interest. So the trailer wasn't for me. It wasn't for a guy that doesn't read much Marvel, that never read a Black Panther comic, and who, in general, doesn't really like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I'm glad everyone's excited, and that movie, again, releases next year.
So as we mentioned in the beginning of the show, and I'm sure that this is no news to anybody at this point, on Friday, June 9th, Adam West died at the age of 88 after a battle with leukemia.
West was best known as Batman in the 60s Batman television series and had recently reprised his role for some DC animated films.
I remember watching him in Batman 66. It used to come on Sunday mornings. I would watch that and Green Hornet and Wonder Woman and Lois and Clark New Adventures of Superman.
I was about to say the original Trinity, but then you threw in Lois and Clark.
I'm sorry, that was there too. So, yes, I used to watch all of those. So, my mom talks about it all the time, how she would rush home after school to go and watch Adam West as Batman. And this was before color TVs, so it was just all in black and white. But I think the place I remember him most from, and this is, I mean, it's terrible, but was from SpongeBob. So when I used to watch that, he played Mermaid Man. And Mermaid Man was an old superhero. And I just thought it was so funny that he did so many roles where he was essentially making fun of himself.
He struggled after the Batman television series to get regular work. And I'm glad that not even near the end of his life, for, the latter part of it, I would say, he embraced that and he made a bunch of different cameos. The very first time I ever was exposed to Adam West was not through the Batman 60s television series, although maybe my parents did show it to me at some point when I was a kid. I don't remember. The earliest memory I have of Adam West is actually from The Grey Ghost and Batman the Animated Series. And it wasn't until years later that I, came to find out that was Adam West, who was the original Batman. And for many people, the Batman, for a whole generation, that is Batman. And unfortunately, Batman has passed away.
Well, that was also the catalyst for all the other Batman things that we see now. Without him starting out and getting such traction for that show, we wouldn't have the movies that we have. We wouldn't have, maybe even the cartoons that we got.
Even if you were to argue that we would still have Batman anything, which, you'd have to really make an argument for that because it stayed in the minds of everyone, Batman did, and it brought his popularity so high up that in the comics even, they had to change it so that it matched a little bit more to reflect what the television show did, a little bit more lighter, and that did keep Batman alive throughout those years. And then, of course, we eventually took the darker turn with Frank Miller's Batman, the Tim Burton Batman, and then finally the animated series, which set the tone for Batman moving forward, and as we've gotten more and more closer to the darker part of the comic books. But Adam West is such an important part of Batman history, and the entire crew and cast as well of that whole television show, that we can at the very least say that Batman would not be the same today if it weren't for not just the television show, but for his portrayal of Batman. If someone else had done Batman differently, who knows how this show would be affected and how Batman would be affected moving forward throughout the years. While it is sad, of course, that he passed away from leukemia, this is a celebration of Adam West and of his life and of Batman. I know a lot of people have their Batman. Ours is Kevin Conroy's The Animated Series Batman, but we don't shit on any other version of it because all of it is Batman. Every single part, every creation of Batman reflects a different part of the character. It is not just one vision of it. It's different portions and different versions that everyone can enjoy. For some, it's that light, cow, bang, Batman. For us, it's I am vengeance, I am the night, I am Batman. And for others, believe it or not, yes, it is Ben Affleck murdering people with the Batmobile. Like, that's going to be their Batman as well. And every one of them is different, and you're going to have your own choice. But it's easy to say now that arguably one of the biggest Batmans that is going to wear the cowl in all history, is gone now. And this is the time to really appreciate what he did for the character.
We did reach out to you guys on Twitter, on Facebook, asking you your thoughts on this, or the first time that you had experience with that Batman. And you guys were great. You gave us some great responses. The first one we have is from @TheIrishOnFire. Quote, I recall some of the best times with my father before alcohol ruined him was watching 66 Batman as a kid. He may not have been my Batman growing up, but he was so definitively profound in foundation of my life that the theme music was nearly in my upcoming wedding this month. Middle finger to her parents for coaxing my fiance out of it. Rip Batman. End quote. Put it in there anyway.
Yeah, just throw it in there.
They'll get over it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Christopher, for the personal letter about Adam West and about a little bit of your life and your background. It just goes to show that any little portion, any bit that you celebrate, anything you grew up on, can be attached to a positive memory. And it looks like this is what Christopher did as well with his relationship with his dad, with Batman, and up to now where, congratulations, he is about to get married. So all of that reflects throughout your life as you continue.
The next one we have comes from @UberNerd527, who says, quote, I really loved the Batman 66 movie. May not be perfect, but it's a fun movie. Plus, special shout out to the animated Return of the Caped Crusader. Also loved Adam West and Johnny Bravo, Fairly Odd Parents, And let's not forget the Grey Ghost episode of Batman the Animated Series. End quote.
I've seen people now showing off their Grey Ghost poster that is signed by Adam West and by Kevin Conroy.
That's amazing.
And it's just, it's on part of a sketch group that I joined on Facebook. And that has all of the people, like, treasure that forever. You have Batman Animated Series and the 66 Batman on this beautiful art piece that of an episode that reflects what Batman also means to fucking Batman. Excellent episode. Thank you, Josh. And the final response is from @SupersideUp on Twitter, who said, quote, watched him growing up in syndication, and atomic batteries to power is part of my regular vocabulary. Love this seriousness with the silly, end quote.
I remember growing up most of the pow, sock, wham.
Everyone does.
You couldn't show people getting beat up. It was great.
And that was the way to hide that. And they did it again in Lego Batman, which is amazing. That was a highlight for many people when they're like, they did the cow and the pow and the zam and the zip and the noises that don't make any kind of punching noise. Like, all of that is in there. So, yeah, Adam West will be missed. And I did pick out a clip from Batman 66 that will make sense when we get to our comic book highlight. And, of course, picked it for you because of Batman and Catwoman. So, enjoy that before we move on to our next news item.
Hello, Batman.
You're a rare lady, Catwoman. You're right on time.
I'm rare. In more ways than that.
I'm glad you decided to surrender. We would have caught you eventually.
Do you think so?
Certainly, there's no escaping the inexorable law of justice. Shall we go?
Must we? So soon?
So we're going to move on to some Marvel Studios big screen news, as in movies. Through a Facebook Q&A, Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige revealed that Marvel has no plans for the Fantastic Four in Disney's MCU.
His exact quote says, "We have no plans with the Fantastic Four right now. No discussions about it," end quote.
20th Century Fox's reboot with 2015's Fantastic Four has not been met with a sequel yet because it wasn't very good.
Because it didn't make money. It doesn't matter how good it was.
And it didn't make
money. The discussion, him saying no discussions about it right now, says that there aren't even entertaining any kind of deal with 20th Century Fox. I saw a comment that read that it's a shame that 20th Century Fox doesn't want to play ball with Marvel. It's like, well, how do you know it's not Disney
Marvel
that doesn't want to?
maybe 20th Century Fox is like, you want to buy this? We'll give you a good deal. And they're like, meh, we good.
It's possible. Like, I like how in their minds and fans' mind, it is Disney and Marvel are forever like the good guys. Like, please, let's just have our characters back. And then 20th Century Fox are the dark overlords. Like, no, we're going to ruin your characters. No, they're trying to fucking make money off of it, and they're trying to make good movies too. And sometimes it doesn't pan out like it did with Fantastic Four. And as we've been saying forever, at least, I don't know if you agree with me, but Fantastic Four and X-Men, hang on to them bitches for as long as you can. Renew them contracts. Right now that superheroes are hot and they're making a shit ton of money, you'd be an idiot to try to sell that shit. Or to even try to partner up with it. I still say that Sony should have hung on to Spider-Man 100%, and they still own it. They've just done a partnership with Disney to do something more with it. And, who's to say whether or not that's going to be a good or a bad thing? We'll find out when the box office comes in. But even then, I would have been like, no, just make another fucking trilogy. Make the third one. Make the fucking Venom movie without him.
Get Tobey Maguire back. What has that man been doing? I haven't seen him.
I have not been following him either.
Did he go into a hole after Spider-Man? Like, oh, no. Or Seabiscuit? Wasn't he in Seabiscuit?
Yeah, he was in Seabiscuit. That was like right after Spider-Man 1, I think.
No.
It was right in the middle of all of that.
I remember liking that more than Spider-Man.
You're not going to see Fantastic Four show up in Infinity War. No. Anyone that's trying to get excited over that, it's simply not going to happen. And Kevin went on to also clarify that there is no rivalry between Marvel and DC, between Warner Brothers and Disney.
Quote, "The rivalry is much more among the press, I think. Jeff Johns is a very good friend of mine. We grew up together in the business and recently celebrated Richard Donner, who we both used to work for. So I applaud all the success he's had. I really just look to it as a fan. When the movies performed well and are received, it's good for us. which is why I'm always rooting for them. The success of Wonder Woman is wonderful. It makes us incredibly happy. End quote.
I think some of this is fueled by the fact that sometimes the actors will say something that kind of takes a jab at the other company, and also when people listen to podcasts that make it out to where they make fun of the other company, like we do with.
Who would do that? What podcast would do that? We should all be friends.
All I can say is I am brutally honest with my opinions on certain movies.
That's
all I can say.
Marvel movies.
This is all I can say. I've liked Marvel movies. I've liked 5 of them. All right, that's a handful of them. That's more than the DCEU movies I have right now. I like more MCU movies than I like DCEU movies. You can put that in a fucking quote somewhere.
There's only 3 DCEU movies.
It's still a fact, all right? It's still a fact.
And I can guarantee you already like Justice League more than one of these Marvel movies.
Possibly. I liked Captain America more than Wonder Woman.
Oh.
So MCU does have some really good movies in there.
There you go. Calm down. Going a little bit crazy there. Wonder Woman's still great.
Yeah, I mean, he's right. If the superhero movies are doing well, and we should credit the MCU, because if they hadn't done as well as they have, and that started off with Iron Man, we probably wouldn't see Batman v Superman. We probably wouldn't even have seen a Suicide Squad movie ever be created or ever come out. You would have seen Harley Quinn and the Joker show up in a Batman movie, and that's it. But because of the success of the Marvel movies, the success of the superhero genre, this is why we are now seeing a Wonder Woman movie, a Suicide Squad. Eventually, we're going to get another Flash movie and maybe a Cyborg. So all of this is, believe it or not, thanks to the MCU, which goes back to, thanks to Sony's Spider-Man, which also kept it alive for a lot of people. And even before that, Blade. So we can always go back and thank a different company for doing something that eventually led to a genre thriving in the industry.
Mm-hmm. But DC is still better. Oh, I'm sorry.
Speaking of DC.
So, according to The Hollywood Reporter, Batgirl and Justice League Dark are the next DCEU movies scheduled to film once Justice League and Aquaman wrap up.
So the original lineup, Kelly, had Cyborg, Shazam, and the Green Lantern Corps during this coming period. So something has changed. Mm-hmm. Obviously, they've gone ahead and changed directions. I don't know if we're going to see Cyborg, Shazam show up anytime soon. I think the Green Lantern Corps is what we're going to see before we see a Cyborg movie.
Definitely agree with that. Shazam would be a great movie. I'd be so excited.
I really want a
for
Shazam movie, yes.
But I can see why they're going with Batgirl, especially on the heels of Wonder Woman. Mm-hmm. You want another strong female character movie. Can I throw out, speaking of Wonder Woman, somebody pointed out to me on Facebook that her thighs jiggle in that movie.
They do.
Can I tell you how happy that made me? My thighs jiggle all the time.
It's true though. They're right. And so what?
And I mean, but it's good for women, right? And they pointed out that all the Amazons, they had like crow's feet and like they didn't look perfect. I mean, they were gorgeous, please, but they didn't look perfect, and I was very happy with that.
That actually made me way happier than, like, the thigh jiggle. I wanted to see, like, the crows, because they were still built.
Yeah.
I still wanted to see Gal Gadot to get the same build as the rest of the Amazons that she was supposedly training with.
She was a god. She needed less muscle.
She needed to be as built as the rest of them. At least match Robin Wright's level, because Robin Wright was training with her. Even
good.
She, like, grew some muscle for the role, too.
Yeah,
so,
she did.
Come on, Gal Gadot. Just put on some more. Just keep doing it.
A cool scar on her arm, too.
They did.
It's awesome.
Out of all these, so we know Shazam is going to be the one we're most looking forward to. You said Batgirl, although it's not because of Wonder Woman that we're seeing Batgirl. This was already planned before the success of Wonder Woman, but that is definitely going to help out Joe Whedon's Batgirl. Hopefully it's good. Justice League Dark, though, is going to probably not be called Dark Universe thanks to Universal's monster lineup, but the Justice League Dark with Constantine as the centerpiece, that I think is going to be the next sleeper hit for DC. I think if as long as they keep titling it Justice League Dark, that marketing alone will do tons for you. And then showcase Swamp Thing, showcase Constantine, showcase Zatanna.
It's got to be Angel Swamp Thing.
Fucking Etrigan as well.
Yes.
On top of that. I think it could make a shit ton of money. I think it could even be if they're going with a horror spin to it, it could also be one of the best movies out of the DCEU or even one of the best superhero movies in general.
I could see it. There's definitely a lot that they can do with those characters. All they need is TV Constantine. Put him in there, and it'll be perfect.
And we've got some news here on the sequel to Wonder Woman. In an interview with Conan, director Patty Jenkins spoke on the inevitable sequel to Wonder Woman.
Quote, "We're working on it. I hope to. I really love it. I love the world, and we're all really excited about it." End quote. That was a very politically correct statement.
She wants to make it.
I would love to if you guys work out my contract.
Add some more zeros on that paycheck now, because you know that whatever contract she received, unless there was some kind of, you get X amount of box office cut, you know that contract is probably not what it should have been for this first one, because even WB didn't expect it to make this much money. And how much money did Warner Brothers make?
Oh, it made money. Wonder Woman made an estimated $115.1 million this weekend, bringing its global taking up to $435.2 million in the first 2 weeks of release.
So you know they've got to be scrambling now to make a Wonder Woman 2. There's no way that sequel was ever a part of this lineup, especially when they showcased Shazam and Green Lantern and Cyborg
and
Man of Steel,
movies.
The Batman. There's going to be a Wonder Woman 2 fit somewhere in that schedule now, because they better make some more money. Now, whether or not they're going to pay Patty Jenkins enough to bring her right back,
They better.
is who knows? We don't know yet, but aside from that, yes, it's made a ton of money. It's doing extremely well, and that drop from first to second weekend is, from what I read, the second smallest drop in superhero movies in the last 15 years.
That's amazing.
So it's doing extremely well in the box office. It's being held up right next to The Dark Knight in terms of quality, in terms of what people say are the best superhero movies. So yes, there of course will be a Wonder Woman 2, and I want to see Cheetah. I want to see more from the Amazons. I know Robin Wright Chris Pine is on for 2 or 3 more movies. I don't know how that's going to work.
She could have flashbacks, I guess.
That's what most people are saying.
Their one night together.
There's a number of ways they can work in some magic in there to try to bring him back, but I personally don't think we're going to see Chris Pine back.
No.
I think there's going to be, it's just an option for the contract if the story calls for it. So if there is going to be a flashback, yeah, he'll make a small cameo. But aside from that, I don't think we're going to see any kind of full characters showing up again in the DC movies. They're going to pair up Wonder Woman with either Superman or Batman.
You know they're going to have to get Patty Jenkins back. Or another female director.
It's definitely going to have to be another female director,
right,
yes.
Because you put a male director on this, and whoa, forget about it. I think even those kindergartners I read about would have some problems. Speaking of which, if you guys haven't read that, somebody tweeted to Patty Jenkins comments from kindergartners after seeing the Wonder Woman movie and how it completely changed her classroom overnight. And it's the sweetest thing ever. My favorite one was a little girl saw a boy throw a piece of paper on the ground and just littering. And she's like, "You can't litter. That's why there's no men in Themyscira." And I was like, oh shit, good for her. So read it if you haven't. They are adorable.
We're going to go ahead and round out our news with the largest video game anything that comes out every single year. We talk about it every single year right here on the podcast, and that is E3 2017, the highlights and the thoughts. There are way too many video games that get announced every single year, so we can talk about it. This is not a 100% video game podcast, but we can touch on the things that we are going to buy, the stuff related to things that we have talked about before in the past. So all the old-time broquettes know they're definitely going to talk about BioWare because of Dan's Mass Effect. They're definitely going to talk about Game Freak because of Kelly's Pokemon.
Just my Pokemon, please.
So this is you and Leo's Pokemon. I'm sorry, excuse me.
And yours.
So these are the highlights, the biggest takeaways from E3 2017 from Kelly and I, and a special shout out also to Maceo, who was the very first to ask us, will there be E3 2017 talk on the next episode? Is this going to be a special? And this is as special as it gets because this is most of the news for this week. Shit ton of E3 2017, tons of Nintendo, Kingdom of Hearts.
What is that game?
We're going to kick it off.
You always mention that game, and I don't know what it is.
Kicking it off with DBFZ.
DBFZ. Bungie. I don't know. I was trying to figure out that was. So, Dragon Ball Fighter Z is what this is. I'm assuming you put this in here for me because of...
I want to play this shit.
Really? Okay.
I want to play this.
All right. I will not play it with you. I will watch you play it. So, yes, another Dragon Ball Fighter game. It features 3-on-3 battles a la Marvel vs. Capcom.
Someone tweeted a gif of Beerus who's dancing, like breakdancing from the first movie, I believe. But they photoshopped a grave on there that said Marvel vs. Capcom.
And he's dancing on the grave stuff.
And that's Marvel vs. Capcom. Just this is the most we're gonna say about that. Apparently, the characters look like shit. Like they look awful. There's someone put up the Princess Peach Rabbids right next to like 3 other Marvel vs. Capcom, and they're like, when the Rabbids look more attractive than the characters from Capcom or Marvel. It's true though. I mean, you look at it, and hopefully there's going to be a ton of polish. I'm sure it'll be fine if the graphics are the worst part of it. Awesome, focus on the gameplay. But this looks great in both gameplay and in the graphics itself. So you saw the trailer too.
Yes.
What was the thing that stuck out to you the most from what they showcased?
Vegeta.
Just Vegeta.
I mean, it was cool. You had all the guys, and they were doing their things, and they were blowing things up, and then they were transforming, and then you had Gold Frieza, so I'm going to assume that we're going to have blue-haired people, too. And they're like, pa, 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 pa. I hope there's a good story mode.
Well, here's what I took away from it, and this was the most important part of it. I don't know if you paid close enough attention, but it looks like the anime. It is not just cel-shaded, but it looks like straight-up cartoons fighting. It's not a 3D fighter. It's not a cel-shaded 3D fighter. They're like 2D characters that are doing moves and transforming just like the anime. When Goku goes Super Saiyan, you have like that swirl that stops right before it turns and then it goes. Like that stop is just for the animators because they didn't have enough time to animate that, but they left that shit in the game, and that's how they animated this shit too. And longtime DBZ fans know exactly what the hell I'm talking about. What little swirl I'm talking about when he powers up. And yes, even that is translated to look exactly like the fucking cartoon. Confirmed fighters so far, Kelly. We've got Vegeta, you said. Cool. Gohan, Goku, Frieza in his final form, Perfect Cell, and Boo as his fat form.
Large form, thank you.
Husky form?
Husky form, there you go. He turns people into cookies.
I guess that's one of his special attacks. There's going to be a ton of them, and all of the specials in there play exactly like Marvel vs. Capcom, in which you can do a Goku's Kamehameha, then switch on over to Majin Buu turning you into a cookie, and then switching on over to a one-handed Kamehameha from Gohan. So all of that is integrated into the gameplay itself. The Dragon Ball Fighter Z is set to release in 2018.
We also have some more long-awaited gameplay from Kingdom Hearts 3. That is the name of the game. I don't know what that other thing you were talking about before was.
It's what's in the notes here, Kingdom of Hearts, KOH3.
No, but that's not a real game, so that's a typo, clearly. So Kingdom Hearts 3 gameplay, finally, and we got some news about its release, but no, we didn't.
So first off, the gameplay, we were watching it together. It looks like, I kept pointing out to it, like, this is Dream Drop Distance. This is the 3DS version. This is the 3DS version. This is, all these mechanics are what we saw in the handheld Nintendo version of the game, which is the best Kingdom of Hearts game they ever released.
I don't know what that game is.
So that got me incredibly excited for part 3, because I'm like, if this is essentially a console version of Kingdom of Hearts DDD, then I am all in. We were already going to get it, but now we know that the gameplay is going to be on par with my favorite Kingdom of Hearts title. And I still have to play that PS3 version, the handheld version on the television, and I'm going to get around to that if I ever finish Andromeda before the kid is born. But to know that, if anything, they're going to have a more updated version of that game, but as its own story with its own brand new characters, it's progressing Sora's, I guess, final part to it, then yes, awesome. This is going to be, when it releases 100 years from now, probably the best Kingdom of Hearts title.
When our child's grandchildren play this game. So we do have a quote at the end of the trailer. It says, quote, "Join us next month at D23 Expo 2017 as we personally present a new world and new trailer. July 15th, 2017, end quote.
Everyone is speculating that this is the confirmation that the Marvel Universe will be integrated into the Kingdom of Hearts universe.
It's possible.
Why else put it in the D23 Expo, where it literally is Star Wars and the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Maybe it'll be Star Wars and Kingdom Hearts.
At the very least, one of those two will be. They've got to be in Kingdom of Hearts. They've got to be integrated into that.
Which would you rather see, though? Sora with a Keyblade lightsaber or Avengers?
Definitely Star Wars, Kingdom of Hearts is what I want to see. But, put them both in there. Put them both in there. You've got these two properties.
Okay, but they did Pirates once, and that wasn't very good.
Didn't you like There's no way you, at 14 or however old you were at that point, weren't excited to play through Pirates of the Caribbean.
I was so excited. And then I played through and I went, there it was. They did not handle it well. Tron was cool. They could do another Tron world.
Tron was excellent. I loved going on the speed bikes. I don't know what they call them, the Tron bikes. I want to get more ignorant as I continue to guess.
Aren't they like light bikes?
Light bikes. I think that's actually correct, and I don't want to go in that direction. So
that's closer to being true, Kelli.
Light cycles.
There you go.
Oh shit! I think that's actually.
Abort!
So stay tuned. I'm sure we'll talk about that new trailer after July 15th for the third portion to Kingdom of Hearts. BioWare, the creators of Mass Effect, revealed their latest project, which is Anthem, along with a full gameplay trailer.
Oh, shipper storm incoming. Okay, actually, let's get some more people. Hold on a sec.
Hey guys, what's up?
Hey, what's happening?
I'm right behind you.
This will be a shared world action RPG releasing in 2018 for PS4, Xbox One, and PC. I was 0% excited, but I am not the market for this.
I am the market for it, and it looked amazing and it looked great. I don't have enough gamer friends that I can play this with. Everyone that around my age already has to work. They have to be up early. They have kids. They aren't playing on the PS4. Maybe they're playing on the Xbox One, or maybe they don't have any interest at all in Anthem. So this is going to be one of those, like, I'd have to go on a message board and try to ask people, like, hey, does anyone want to join my clan and add me on PlayStation Network? Even when I mean, you know what? I did play some multiplayer with people on Andromeda, not as often as I would have liked. But for something like Anthem, you need more than just the occasional multiplayer match. And the gameplay looked amazing. The trailer looked awesome. I don't know if you got to see it, but you are essentially in like a mech suit, in a power suit, and you go through this completely open world. So it's kind of like Andromeda or any open world RPG, where you can do any type of mission in any order you'd like, but then there's the story missions that will progress, obviously, the story. And at any time, some of the story missions will say requires 4 people to do this mission. So that's when you got to call upon 2 other friends, and then all 4 of you can go and finish off this mission. So it's almost like World of Warcraft plus Mass Effect plus GTA, all of this mixed together into an immersive experience. And it does look incredible. It looks like it plays great. The action looks like you can just do almost anything to handle any kind of situation. If there's a bigger enemy, your one friend who has the heavier mech suit can take on that guy while you take on the other minions. So your suit is more like a speed suit, and you got to fire off 17 missiles to all add and land on these enemies. So all of that is a part of the gameplay. All of that is how you customize your character to fit a role in your individual clan of players. So it does look amazing. I think it will do well. And I do think that I know a lot of people were saying that most of the team that worked on Mass Effect 1 and 2 and then the non-DLC portion of 3 were working on this instead of Andromeda when this released, because they're like, this looks fucking amazing. This looks incredible. And it really does. And again, I don't think I will have the time to play this, but I am excited to see what other people do with the game and what kind of suits they end up building.
I don't want you going on message boards to make friends. That's how people get kidnapped. So it's not for us.
As part of Sony's conference, the Shadow of the Colossus remake trailer released, which also showcased more gameplay from the title.
I felt like this was coming out, or there was a strong push for it to happen not that long ago, like within the last few years. Am I mistaken?
I think they had announced it at some point, but this is the first time we actually got to look at a full gameplay trailer, yeah. We
have never had the opportunity to play, or we played it for a little bit. We never finished this game. I have heard what happens within the story, and I think it's great, and I would probably cry.
And I'm sure it didn't cost them too much to actually remake the title.
No.
And from the looks of it, it does play exactly like the PS2 version. So, I mean, this is a cheap way to make some money off of what is essentially one of the best games of all time for a lot of people. And this is set to release in 2018 exclusively on the PS4.
We also got to see a Spider-Man gameplay trailer that actually got me pretty excited.
Also an exclusive for the PlayStation 4 coming out next year. And this is essentially Spider-Man Arkham Asylum. This is Spider-Man Arkham City. Mm-hmm. This plays exactly like a Batman game, which is not at all a bad thing. If you emulate the best superhero video game of all time, yeah, you reskin it with Spider-Man, and done. You've got a great video game.
Fisk's men have fled through the building. Eliminate them.
Should have worn a helmet.
It does look like there's some action portions of it. There's some stealth portions. The way that they use the web slinging and the spider sense is kind of like when Batman has like the little squigglies over the bad guys. Right. That's when you hit triangle to try to counter them. And that's what happens with Spider-Man too. He's got the spider sense that warns him whenever an enemy is coming. Mm-hmm. You can use the different gadgets as well from Spider-Man to try to take down enemies without having to actually take them on one-on-one. So that's where you have like the Arkham gameplay, where Bruce Wayne does have like the different time detonation bombs, when Spidey has that, except he can just, web them from afar and shoot them onto a wall. And then as soon as someone walks by, boom, it webs them up against a wall. One of the things I was most impressed with is at one point someone kicks an enemy off the building. And in the older Spider-Man games, they would just fall, and it's like, they're knocked out, and that'd be it. But in this one, there's an extra animation in which he webs them right back to the building and slams them on the floor. So it's like, okay, so it's not like your other video games where you can knock them off a building and it's video game logic where they're just knocked out after they hit the floor. In this, they actually thought about that and added an additional thing where you actually do save them. So it's not Spider-Man unintentionally killing people.
We do have a great little moment at the end, too, where you pan out and you see everybody recording what's happening. And somebody walks up and it's like, okay, it's over. Let's go. And it turns around and it's Miles Morales.
Yeah, so I guess he's going to be a part of the story. And I'm sure he's going to be playable. I definitely want to play Spider-Man on the PlayStation 4. It looks like it's going to be a shit ton of fun. If this is literally just Arkham Asylum or Arkham City reskinned with Spider-Man, I'm going to have a ton of fun with it.
Moving over into the Nintendo side, we got a gameplay trailer for something new on the 3DS, Metroid Samus Returns.
Players have been asking for a Metroid game for a long fucking time now. They've been saying, what's going on, Nintendo? When are we going to get another Metroid title? Some people want Metroid Prime. Some people want a traditional Metroid title. And a lot of people were saying it's not going to happen. After so many years of us asking for it, they did Federation Force, which nobody liked. And, some people did. Like, they just gave it a shot, for what it was.
Two people liked it.
And they said, we want an actual Metroid title. All the thumbs down on Federation Force were the fans going, we don't want this. We want an actual Metroid title. And this is the year that Nintendo said, all right, everyone, stop whining. No more crying. We don't want to hear it. Here you go. Here's Metroid.
Here you go, little babies. So this looks like it will be a loose remake of Metroid 2 Return of Samus on the Game Boy.
So this remake is going to have gameplay enhancements and a special edition that features a reversible cover and a soundtrack with 25 songs.
There will also be 2 new amiibos released alongside the game, including a Metroid figurine and one of Samus recreating her pose from the cover of Metroid 2.
Have you seen the Metroid amiibo?
I have not.
It's essentially a knocked over glass container and then the Metroid flying out of it. It looks so cool. Like, I thought it was just going to be a Metroid, kind of like the Super Smash Brothers trophies. But no, it is actually, they put in the casing and everything. They got the little Metroid flying out of it. That is going to be my next amiibo purchase, right next to Bayonetta, if they ever fucking release her. Because it looks so good.
I want to shoot guns from my feet.
So this is the 2D Metroid that people have been asking for. This is supposed to satisfy and scratch that itch for a lot of players. But for anyone asking for the first-person Metroid experience, they also announced no gameplay trailer, just an image, but they said we're working on it, and they showcased Metroid Prime 4.
This game will release before Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yes, it will. It is set to release on the Nintendo Switch, so it's going to be a full HD gorgeous version of the Metroid Prime series. I played the first one, never completed it. I skipped on the second one, but then I got the third one. I believe it was called Corruption. Played it from beginning to end, enjoyed it from beginning to end. So when we do eventually get the Switch and I do have time again to play video games, I will definitely be playing Metroid Prime 4. Having a Metroid Prime game after so many years of consoles and of graphical improvements, it is going to be gorgeous. It was one of the best looking games on the GameCube as well. And one of the things that always stays with me is whenever you go through like a thing of mist or whenever it's raining, like your little helmet actually has the raindrops on it. And as a kid playing that, I'm like, holy shit, man, these graphics, like this is still when you cared about graphics, right? You're like, this looks amazing. And I can't wait to see what they do with Samus and that little effect for the new Metroid Prime.
I have never had the opportunity to play or watch you play a Metroid game, so this will be fun for me as well to be introduced to that. Hopefully we'll get some news soon on when that will be releasing.
One of the biggest standouts for E3 in general, not just Nintendo, was Super Mario Odyssey. They had it playable on the show floor, and they showcased a whole new trailer in which they have Mario essentially being able to possess other characters, other enemies into helping him.
I believe it's his hat that possesses them, right? His hat jumps on them.
Yes.
And then you can control them. It looked pretty good. We got to see some additional hats, too. There's some fancy top hat. There's a sombrero. So you can... Why, when he wears a sombrero, does he just automatically get a poncho?
I guess these are all callbacks to older costumes he's had throughout the years.
Okay.
So at one point, yeah, he did have like the big sombrero with the poncho and you can play him again in the game. And I'm like, fuck yes, I can finally another character that I can sort of look like. I've got representation somewhere.
An Italian man in a sombrero and a poncho. Looks just like you.
This game looks so fucking good. And you can be a frog in it. You can possess a goddamn frog.
Yes, you can.
And if you can play as the frog the whole time, I'm like, I don't need any other fucking power-up or superpower. I will fucking take on Bowser's bitch ass as my frog self. Mustache and the fucking hat. It is perfect.
The game's like, but Dan, you need to use other power-ups to get up this tower.
I'll use my fucking jump to get up that goddamn tower. I'm a fucking frog.
I'll just use my frog powers.
You can use Yoshi, too. He's got that hover attack. I've got some fucking giant-ass...
legs.
Jumping and legs, and I've got the fucking licking attack and shit. I don't fucking need no Yoshi. I've got my own tongue, and it's much longer than Yoshi's dumbass. I'm gonna that frog is gonna be incredible. It's gonna be super overpowered, and I'm gonna beat that game from beginning to end with that frog. Hopefully, if Nintendo's smart, this is gonna be the greatest thing since fucking the Thor frog, Throg. Which he better also show up in Ragnarok.
I'm very glad that you're excited for this.
Super Mario Odyssey is set to release October 2017, and I will absolutely also be purchasing this. Reasons I'm broke.
And diapers will also be a reason you're broke in October 2017.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me, always, constantly, that my life will end as I know it in October. Thank you.
As you know it will change. It will get better. All right. Something else that they announced, which I was never expecting. I know you had talked about it for a while. I was never expecting this. Game Freak is developing a full traditional Pokemon game for the Nintendo Switch.
Yet another wish for gamers as they kept whining and crying and wanting a full Pokemon game on the consoles. And I think as early as like a year and a half ago, the company had said, these are pocket monsters. We're never going to have it as a console release. This is meant to be a handheld experience, something you take with you. And now the Switch came out, which is a console and a handheld experience. So they said, all right, well, we can do it now. And they did. So they are doing a full Pokemon game. And last week, I think we had said that they didn't release or they didn't announce the Nintendo Switch version of Sun and Moon. But
Stars.
This looks to be that. They're at the very least going to take, I'm sure they're going to take these models that are, again, rendered for 1080p, but you can't see them on that with the 3DS. They're going to take those models and they're going to reuse them in the Nintendo Switch version, if that wasn't already the intention. Because again, if they're going to release it on the Switch, it has to output at 1080p on your big screen and then on the handheld itself. So this is what they're going to be using those models for. No release date, I think you mentioned already, for this version of the Nintendo Switch. But it is yet another title that we'll have to be owning on the new console.
Unfortunately, yes. I hope, because it's now technically on a console, even though it's still a handheld, we can go back to other gyms. That's all I want. That's all I want in my life, is to go visit other gyms. But Kelli, you don't even like these other gyms. Kelli, you get too stressed when you fight people. I don't care.
Out of all the E3 2017 news, which was your favorite bit out of the whole convention?
Ooh, probably the Pokemon news. That we're getting another Pokemon game. That's really the only thing out of all this that I'm going to play.
Honestly, I think believe it or not, the Dragon Ball game got me really excited. Like, that's the one I'm most excited to actually play and compete in.
Who are you going to play as?
I don't know yet. I've got to choose the character that for fighting games, I don't play the most defensive. It's different. You can't really play like that. In that one, I'm probably going to choose a quicker character. So whoever is faster in the game is going to be who I choose. So it's not going to be Majin Buu. I'm never going to play as Majin Buu.
No, it's probably going to be Gohan. Is probably going to be the fastest. Oh, there was also, we saw Trunks, Old Man Trunks, not Old Man Trunks.
The older future Trunks?
Yeah.
I didn't even see him in that
gameplay
trailer.
$5 says he's in there. I'm pretty sure
he's got to be in there. Especially if you're doing 3 versus 3 Dragon Ball Z. I mean, there's got to be just more characters than ever in this.
But not Yamcha.
Yamcha's the weakest ass. He's not going to be in that. You know what? Maybe I'll be good. I'll get really good with Yamcha and just embarrass everyone. Like, you got beaten by fucking Yamcha.
I want even the game won't let you win as Yamcha. Like, you're about to win and then you just fall over.
The other game too, aside from Spider-Man, was Super Mario Odyssey. It's just it just looks like such a perfect fucking game. I really want to get that on the Nintendo Switch, and that will probably be the game that makes me finally take the dive on the console. It's Mario Odyssey. That alone, a Mario experience by itself always makes the console purchase worth it. And now that you have Zelda alongside it, which I will also be able to get once I get the Switch, and then, of course, Metroid Prime, and then the new Pokemon game.
You and our kid are going to have to learn how to play games together.
This is going to be a very expensive 2 years for video games, and I know that we've been cutting back on them. Watching all of this from E3 made me like, okay, I've got to still stick on video games, because there are some great titles coming out.
And with that, we can wrap up all this news that we had. That was a lot of news. That's more news than we've had in a while. So good on the internet this week.
Yeah, it's a great week.
But we are, before we get into our comic book highlight, going to do our Patreon shout out of the week.
This week we've got 2 of them from John at John72Tex and Brian at BrianShoup1.
Thank you guys so much for your continued support. It really, really helps out the show. Helps us get you guys the product that you get every single week.
To commemorate Adam West passing away, at John72Tex recently put up on Instagram a photo of his signed Adam West picture of him answering, of course, the infamous red phone, along with a couple of hot toys from Catwoman of Adam West, of course, and then Batgirl, as what you can see on there. And at BrianShop1 recently also retweeted the Midtown Comics pictures of the Batman the Animated Series Funko Pops that are releasing very, very soon. And there's some great stuff on there.
They're
the Phantasm,
cool.
Bane.
There's Hardak Batman.
Yes. I was the only one at my shop they're like, oh, what? Who was that again? I'm like, Hardak. Heart of Steel. It was a great one where you don't know if it's going to be actually, if he's going to kill Batman, or when Batman says, you're programmed to fucking not kill also, so you'll never kill me. And that's when that Batman kills himself, because he's like, I can't fulfill my orders, but I can't go against the nature of what I was programmed to be, so he fucking kills himself. You remember that episode?
I do. It was good. Creepy. It was really creepy, because it's like, is this a real person or is this a robot?
It was so fucking good. Very memorable episodes. But again, huge thanks to both John and Brian for your Patreon Patreon support. We are that much closer to goal number 3. If you also would like your shout out every single month, head on over to patreon.com/thereasonsimebroke. For as little as $1 a month, which equals out to 25 cents an episode, you too can get your shout out on the Reasons I'm Broke podcast.
But of course, our podcast will always be free. The best thing you can do is reach out to us on Twitter, talk to us on Facebook, especially let other people know about us. That goes a long way in getting more viewers for the show.
And we also want to thank DecalAvenue.com for the help at the $5 reward tier.
And now, finally, the moment I have been waiting for this entire podcast. We have our comic book highlight, Batman number 24.
This is written by Tom King, with art by David Finch, Clay Mann, Seth Mann, and Danny Mickey, with colors by Jordi Belair.
Tom King is still my favorite person. This is the comic book that I never knew I needed.
That you never expected to fucking happen.
Never.
And it is still very anti-Batman, and we're going to explain why, and we're going to talk about it, but this is essentially a one-shot jumping on point for the Batman series. It is Batman talking to Gotham Girl, who is close to death because her powers sap away essentially at her life force. Mm-hmm. And it is her saying, why you do this because you're trying to make yourself happy, Batman, but you're still not happy. And he says, it's because I'm afraid. And it's almost a metaphor of he is afraid of being happy. And that's always what Batman sort of has been ever since. You look at the Mask of the Phantasm movie, in which the one time he could be happy is with Andrea Belmont, and as soon as she leaves, he can be 100% Batman, mm-hmm. because he knows there's nothing out there that is going to hold him back from it, like love or like affection or like a relationship. And in this, it's kind of Tom King going, okay, well, let's go ahead and tweak this so that Batman thinks that maybe it is time that I am happy, and maybe it is time that I go ahead and dive in 100% on this one person who I know understands me. And you can go ahead and take it from here, because I'm sure you can explain.
So I thought that this was written and set up very, very well. It flips between him talking to Gotham Girl and him chasing Catwoman through the city. And the whole time he's chasing Catwoman, you still have that dialogue with Gotham Girl. So you're never losing that conversation. Almost like in the moments he's in now, he's still thinking back to that conversation. And yes, just like you said, it's all about him deciding that, okay, maybe it's time to be happy. Maybe it's okay to do the things that scare me so that I can be happy. And we end with a great panel of Batman talking to Catwoman about how you dropped a diamond once and did diamond things, and I kept it because I knew I'd need it. And then he proposes.
Yes, it is the issue in which Batman first proposed to Catwoman. They've been married in the past in different continuities.
Yeah, it's great. They should be married again.
They've had kids, and they make lesser kids than Batman and Talia do. About. So heads up on that. But this is Batman fucking doing an un-Batman thing, and he's proposing to Catwoman. Like, there's no way he's going to be married in the fucking comics. They're not going to make him married.
No.
Like, here's the one thing that we talked about in the shop. All the speculators, of course, came out of the woodwork.
Of course.
And they're like, I gotta own this because it's gonna be $1 million comic. And it's like, one, you don't know if she says yes.
She's not gonna say yes.
She's not going to say yes. I don't think she's gonna say yes. And two, we're not gonna find out for months, because the next arc is about jokes and riddles. It's gonna be about Batman Zero Year. And then we're gonna come back to the comic in which, we hear Catwoman's response. And no, it's not gonna be yes. He's not gonna be married in the comics. I guarantee you they're not gonna make Batman married. I mean, how do you even work that into the mythos? How do you work that into the story? Is Tom King the guy to do that?
If anybody can, it's Tom King. He has given me the best Batman, Catwoman love stories I've ever seen in my life. Even better than fan fiction.
As a Batman fan, do you think he should be married to Catwoman?
Yes.
No, he should not be married. That's the wrong answer.
Yes.
He cannot be Batman if he's married to Catwoman.
Why not?
Because it doesn't make any, there's no point to him being married and running around as well with Catwoman. What's going to change? What's going to be dynamic? You think Catwoman's going to stop stealing? That's not going to happen. She's not going to settle down.
That's foreplay.
Damien's not going to call her mom.
No, of course he's not. Dick Grayson probably would, but that's because he's Dick Grayson.
None of this is going to work. None of this is going to work.
It would work.
It would not work.
You said they've been married before, and it was fine.
Yeah, and like a little one-off, like this isn't going to matter anyway.
Cool. They're married. They need to be together. And whether or not they actually get married, I think they should be together. They're both happier when they're together.
They can be together all they want.
They're better people when they're together.
They can be better people all they want.
What happened to this whole marriage doesn't change anything?
It doesn't change anything, so he should not be, because it's not. It has no significance. So he could just get
married and it won't change anything.
Then it makes no sense to even have them be married.
What about Selena Kyle and Bruce Wayne? Can they be married?
Why though? Just
can they be married?
Well, that would be the greatest heist of all time because Catwoman would be taking all that money.
Yeah, she would.
When they do eventually nullify that marriage, because he's not going to stay married forever if they end up getting married.
And you do realize that when he proposed, he technically took off their masks. They weren't wearing masks, so it could be Bruce Wayne proposing to Selina.
I don't know. It could be, but it's... You know what? Maybe it could also be No, he's got Damian Wayne. I was going to say maybe it's a way for him to pass on his inheritance if something happens, but he's got Damian Wayne. He'll get all the inheritance.
Damian Wayne's a little shit.
Damian Wayne is not a little shit. He's the best Robin of all time.
He is the best Robin, but is he not a little shit?
Sometimes.
Most of the time.
He's not Grant Morrison little shit level.
No, but he is like 95% of the time he's a little shit.
But still not Grant Morrison level of being a little shit.
Well,
like,
no,
he's
but
not an asshole.
nobody is Grant Morrison level of anything shitty.
He's not an asshole.
He's an asshole, please. Damian's like the biggest asshole in Batman.
I think Batman's the biggest asshole in Batman.
No. Damian's like, I don't like these other Robins, so I'm just going to beat them up because I can.
And it was amazing. It was
also an asshole move. Regardless, I am happy. This book delighted my soul. It was the light in the dark, rainy skies that is Florida right now.
This should be your penultimate Catwoman Batman story.
It is. Tom King just writes great Batman and Catwoman, and I love it. And it makes me happy. Getting busy on rooftops. Why not? Go for it. Great job.
And proposing? That still doesn't fit for me in Batman. But you know what?
It's fine. You don't have to accept it. You just have to understand that
it's exciting. It's getting people talking.
Yes.
This is why we're talking about it now. It is something different. It is going to be a in continuity change for the comics if she ends up saying yes. I mean, that's a whole different thing that you can explore as a Batman writer and as Batman fans when you do make it so that he is in a more serious relationship. Well, you know what? Both, because he is in several relationships.
No, not anymore, because he's with just Catwoman now, because he proposed.
So it is exciting to see what's going to come out of this for the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm. I'm happy. Thanks, Tom King.
So that does wrap it up for our comic book highlight and the podcast this week. Let us know what made you most excited for on E3 2017, Facebook.com/TheReasonsI'mBroke, and Twitter @ReasonsI'mBroke, and of course,
@Kelli, because I am the Emperor. We don't talk about how I'm an Emperor enough, by the way.
Oh, we don't?
We don't. You don't sing my praises enough of my Emperorness. What does that make our child? If you're Darth Vader Daniel, and I'm Emperor Kelli.
Do you want to make him a prince like Vegeta?
But it doesn't fit with my Star Wars theme.
We'll come up with something. Aside from that, don't forget to let your friends know about the podcast. Leave us a review on iTunes. All of that helps us out. And of course, a huge thanks for downloading the episode, for listening every single week. We do appreciate the support on Patreon, the support on Twitter, the support on just tuning in for the show. So huge thanks to all the Brokettes out there. And very soon we will have a new addition to our merchandise line on thereasonsimbroke.com. If you head on over to thereasonsimbroke.com, click on shop or merch, you will see all of the different t-shirts that you can get to support the show. And we will have a new design, which I've already finished. I'm just working out the details on getting the print done with our t-shirt guy, which is Lazy Nerds Designs. So that is coming very soon. Definitely stay tuned. But aside from that, I think that about does it, Kelly.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Daniel.
We'll see you next week.